Brisbane's reacting fairly poorly. Brisbane's turning on itself too. The Broncos are a merchandise company that actually have a sideline side hustle as a football team. We're still beating you on that. That's the only place we beat the All Blacks on. We lose more money than that. I think we 60. Did we lose 50 or 60 this year? Something like that.
I'm looking at the Titans. What happened to them?
They lost.
Okay, the Reds.
Lost.
Dolphins.
Lost.
Not a
Cowboys.
great weekend.
Cowboys. Lost.
Cowboys.
The Brisbane Lions, the reigning premiers in AFL.
Lost.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Every week he joins us. It is an absolute pleasure. The former Wallaby fullback, Greg Martin, Triple M breakfast host, and a man with a whole new set of fangs too. Show us those again, mate.
Oh, I still got to get the bottoms done, don't worry, but I've got to save up for a few years for that.
See, I learned that as well from an early age. My mother said to me, just smile with the front teeth because we couldn't afford to get your braces on the bottom ones and say, yeah.
Well, the thing is, if I keep four missing down the bottom, I look like a lot of our listeners. Look at that.
Yeah. Let's talk about your Broncos to start with, mate. It gets better every week.
No. They've now lost 6 games and won 5, and we've got a bloke called Madge Maguire, whatever he's called. He said he was going to give us a hard edge here at the Broncos, and all he's given us is a bunch of rock star pansies.
Well, I'll tell you what, every week it gets better because every week I watch these games and they look as though they should be winning these games and I don't know what it is. How is Brisbane reacting to this?
Brisbane's reacting fairly poorly. Brisbane's turning on itself too, and people are now... And this is the problem. The Broncos earned, what was it last year? $83 million. So they'll end up being the first $100 million a year club.
Wow.
What about that?
Yeah.
$83 million, worth more than the All Blacks
We're
are.
celebrating, mate. Who needs to make the top 8 when you're cashing in like that?
That's right, mate. The Broncos, it doesn't matter. The Broncos are a merchandise company that actually have a sideline side hustle as a football team. Do you know that they've just released their 6th jersey of the season and they've only won 5 games? I don't think you're allowed to do that.
No, that doesn't work out, doesn't it? That doesn't add up.
Although, you know what did told to me from last week to talk about the Broncos, but your Wars were in town playing the Dolphins.
Yep.
And a mate of mine went down Caxton Street and he reported back to me. He reckons there's no team in the history of the NRL has got more jerseys in history than the Wars because you understand how many Kiwis live here in Brisbane, so they're all there. That crowd the other day to watch the Dolphins, there was more WA fans there than there were Dolphin fans.
Of course.
And he reckons he saw 22 different Warriors.
They were all released last year.
What?
That's true,
Have
mate.
they only become popular in the last 2 years?
No, they put out. They used to put out a new jersey just about every week. But they're on a absolute roll at the moment. Look, they'll get a packed house for the Raiders this weekend. They're second top of the table, won 8 out of 10. It's a great story at the moment. The country loves it, mate.
Just answer me this. Who's drawing bigger crowds, the Blues or the Warriors?
No question.
Warriors?
No question. And I'll tell you who's even...
What?
Look, and equally big as the Warriors is Auckland FC in the A-League. They get 25,000 for the big games. They get an average of about 20 grand. The Blues will be lucky to pull in 10 at Eden Park. 10.
Oh, is everyone in New Zealand talking about this? The problem with rugby?
Apart from New Zealand Rugby, who've announced a $19.5 million loss, and we just about broke even. Woo! Yay!
We're still beating you on that. That's the only place we beat the All Blacks on. We lose more money than that. I think we 60. Did we lose 50 or 60 this year? Something like that. Anyway, we'll be right.
Okay, so the Queensland teams over the weekend. I'm looking at the Titans. What happened to them?
They lost.
Okay, the Reds.
Lost.
Broncos.
Lost.
Dolphins.
Lost.
Not a great weekend.
Cowboys. Lost. The Brisbane Lions, the reigning premiers in AFL.
Lost? Really?
The Firebirds had a bye. That's our netball team.
Right.
Hasn't been good. That's why we all support the Warriors.
Let's talk about your Reds, mate. And I've got the points table in front of me here. 4th, 7 and 5, 32 points. Canes at home on Friday night and then finish with the draw at home. So I think that you're going to be top 4. Well, you'd think, unless, of course, you lose to the Hurricanes at home, in which case they can go above you. And then the Canes play MP on the last day. You don't want to finish outside that top 4 because the 4th spot pretty much guarantees you the semi-final because of the way that the final system works, though.
Marty, I'm not going to lie, and I can't code it to to be better than it is because quite simply the Reds don't seem to be good enough. If they were good enough, they would have beaten the Brumbies the other day. We don't have enough good players, and I don't want to sugarcoat it, but the fact is we're like wingers in my day until John Kerwin came along. Wingers were just there because there were a couple of spare jerseys and we gave them to them. The Reds will be making up the numbers in the finals.
Look, you got an injury list, and you know, the Canes have had injury, and Crusaders had injury list last year. Nobody mentions it, but you have got an injury list. I've got to say that.
Yeah, but you can't make excuses for that because every team has to have 30 good players, otherwise you shouldn't be in the finals. Mate, we're making up the numbers. The Brumbies seem to be the real deal, though, and they'll dominate all the talk here isn't about Super Rugby, it's all about the Lions because they've named their team, and we've got to try to work out a way to stop them. And I remember, what was it, the 2000 when were they last year? 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 2013 or 2001? I commentated both those.
2000. They were here in 80. They were there in 89 when they was there at the Campo one.
I played them in 89. I played them in 89.
Then they came in
2001.
Yes, yeah, that was a great series. That series, yeah.
But they're saying don't start them in Perth because they'll hammer the Force, and then they'll hammer whoever's playing them next. I think the Reds, and no one will want to watch. That's bullshit because they beat last time they were there. I think it was 116-0. They beat Perth. They beat, it was just Western Australia at that stage. And nobody cares because it's the Lions. They're supposed to beat those shit teams. So if they go through this whole tour without us beating them in one game, it might be a bit of a worry for Australian rugby.
I don't think the Anzac team's going to do anything. This kind of thing leaves me cold. I just wonder who's going to be available. The All Blacks are not going to risk any players that are potential All Blacks because we've got 2 tests against the Yarpies coming, mate. We're not going to risk those players. So it's a made-for-TV promotional event, isn't it? That's what it is.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
And we were hoping to coach maybe 6 or 7 of you. At this stage, we're only going to get All Blacks who are over in Japan who aren't going to get picked for the All Blacks. I believe we're going to get Aaron Smith and maybe...
Well, that'd be good to watch. I like to watch him, see how good he is. Mwanga will be playing, I think, if that's the case. Maybe Shannon
will be playing, that's about it.
Yeah, okay.
It holds fond memories to me. You know, that was my first test match was against the Lions and I scored a try in it.
Brilliant. And who actually set you up, Campo?
My first test try, Nick Farr-Jones.
Did he?
He was captain. Yeah, and then Michael Lyness sent me the pass for the second. How easy do you reckon that I thought Test rugby was? My first test was British Lions, scored a try, and we beat them 36-12, the biggest victory by any team ever. And I went,
there's a lark.
Shit, this is easy. This stuff is Test rugby.
Right. Yep.
Second test, there was a lot of fighting. It was called the Battle of Ballymore.
That's right, I remember that.
I got 12 stitches across my... I got in a stink as a fullback.
Well, hold on a second. Explain that. Okay, so there's a biffo going on, and you're standing there going, I'm going to have to join in that, aren't I? So if I approach from this side over here, where that big hooer over there is not there...
All right. Do you know they had 6 cops in their pack? They had 6 policemen in their pack, and they were the filthiest bastards I've ever come across. It was extraordinary. Yeah, but Michael Lyness sent me a pass in that try, and so I scored a try on my second test. I thought, I'm going to break Campo's record here if I last long enough. And it was all over soon afterwards. But anyway, it was good while it lasted.
Let's finish on Origin because I'm looking at that New South Wales side, mate, and I'm picking 3-0. I'm picking 3. That's what I'm picking this year. I think that New South Wales are on a roll now. You're looking at 9 years in a row as well. I'm starting to feel this now.
Just looking up my dictionary, the definition of state of origin is when New South Wales people think their shit doesn't stink and then the game starts. Oh, there you go.
That's
Origin.
It. Okay. Yeah. You happy? I mean,
that's what it's about. It's always been about the underdogs.
The bloody made the myths over. New South Wales came up there in Game 3 into the fearful Lang Park and dicked you last year, mate.
You're a fool if you believe that fairy tale. You had a chance as a Kiwi to pick the right side and you went the Blues, the dark side. How could you?
I don't
know if I can do this anymore.
Always a pleasure, mate. Let's do it next week after Origin.
Yeah, Oh, yes, all right.
Okay.
I won't have a bet with you, but no, because I'm not really confident actually this year.
This is the DSPN.